Hey, welcome back. All right, just got home from work. I got a little bit more stuff done last night when I powder coated after I turned the camera off. So I got a few more things put on the motor, so I'll show you that. Got the frame here and the forks. So I'm gonna see how much I can get done tonight, at least try and make it a roller, depending on how long I last. See if we can get this done. But I got the frame done. I got the bars over there that have been painted. The front trees, or front, yeah, I call them front trees, whatever. Got some parts that I did powder coat. Let's take a gander at those. I repainted the deal because I wouldn't fit in my oven, but I got the risers repainted, and I stripped all the paint. Got fingerprints on it. I stripped all the paint off the lowers and used that black deal I used before and kind of went over it real lightly. And then I polished them with a cotton wheel and some mother's polish. So instead of having the black paint on them, I thought, yeah, that looks kind of cool. I got the tank here in the box and the two side cover pieces. I had something done with those. I outsourced somebody. But I'm not going to show you the Go Power Sports tank until we put it on the machine. Let's see what we got done to the motor. I think I pretty much showed you everything. Got the plate. I went in and found, we're going to put this plate on it. I think I'm going to cut this arm off. We're not going to use this piece to kind of make it look nice and clean. So I'll probably take this arm, whack it off right here. But I did go ahead and make the throttle linkage, so all that's jiving. The bottom fan part, I powder coated that, got that put on. So the motor's about ready to bolt on. I did just scuff the wheels and gave them a good shot of Rust-Oleum. The sprocket, people say you don't powder coat sprockets. Well, I powder coated it anyway because I think it looks good with the silver with the black coming through it. So powder coated the sprocket. Didn't do anything to the brake drum or brake disc. So I'm going to at least try and get it in a roller. So my headband thingy is broke. The little thing I stick my GoPro on my head. So I'm going to try and put this on the stand. Film as much as possible. One other thing I did want to say, not necessarily mini bikes, but I'm a mechanic at work, so I replace a lot of bearings and whatever. I work on Caterpillar, John Deere, or whatever. And I know some people say that you always want to pop the seals off your bearings and check them every so often. So I check these on the mini bike, which actually you can just take your O-ring pick right here in this outside. I got grease on it. This outside seal, you just take your O-ring pick or the edge of a razor blade. You can pop this seal out. You know, it's a dust seal. You can pop it out, then you can see your bearing inside there. So it definitely doesn't hurt if you're doing preventive maintenance or you got to take your wheel off to change a tire. While you're already there, check and see how much bearing grease you got in there and just pack that full. I'll show you a trick. Let's see. I don't know if y'all know what a grease needle is. Let me pull one out of here. Let's get it over here in the light. This is a grease needle. It's see if I can hold this steady. Look at that. This goes right in your grease gun right here. Goes on like so. And this is just a sleeve. See? It's like a syringe needle. And it's pretty sharp on the end. But you can pick these up at an auto parts store, probably Amazon, eBay, wherever. But this thing right here works really, really handy. And you can pop that seal off that I just showed you. And you can stick this down right along the edge of those rollers that you'll see in your bearings. The little ball bearings. You can get this right down inside there. And it gets the grease right where it needs to be. So next time you're at the auto parts store, pick you up one of these. They're pretty cheap. They're like $3 or something for a 2-pack. But this is a grease needle. Like I said, clips thrown in your grease gun. Pretty handy. So anyway, like I was saying, I do a lot of mechanic work. And so I was popping these off and I got new bearings in. I was working on, a John Deere or Caterpillar, something I was doing at work, and I had brand new bearings, and these are name brand bearings. They were Timken bearings, I think, or whatever. So anyway, I popped them off just to see how much grease is in them, and from the factory. They were in a sealed package, in a box. I opened them up, and there was like no grease at all in them. And I was like, wow. And the bearings weren't cheap by any means. So it's not necessarily mini bikes. It's any kind of bearing. I would always check it. pop that little side cover off. It don't take 2 seconds. That way you can see how much grease is in that. And I was very surprised on the bearings. I was like, man, these are brand new name brand bearings that were not cheap, and they had like no grease at all in them. So keep that in mind on your mini bike, you know. So I already went through this bike and checked all the bearings in it. They were all good, but I did go ahead, since I had the mirror, I went ahead and packed them full again. Cheap insurance, fellas. So keep that in mind. All right, I'm gonna start rambling, put you on the stand, get some tools, and see if we can't make a roller tonight. Hang on. All right, let's see if we can throw this front end together and try and keep from scratching stuff up. All right, I got the races are still in here. I left them in here, but there's 2 bearings in there. You got one at the top, one at the bottom, and these are also something you definitely want to grease. These are I took them out before I cleaned any. I didn't even bother to clean these. They hardly had any dirt or grease on them. So these, I'm gonna just take a little grease in a cup and lightly coat them up with some grease. Sit them into place. Plus the grease will help you hold them into place while you put everything together. Smear a bunch on there. Go ahead and put a little bit in the bottom race. Grab the other bearing. Squish it in there. Just kind of pack it in there with your fingers. It ain't gotta look pretty. Nobody's gonna see it. Smear you a bunch of grease in there. That. And grease will hold it right into place. Smear a bunch on there. Wipe the excess off my fingers. All right, this goes just like so. So we'll stick that sits right in there. And this top is your top cup, which puts your end play or your pressure against the bearing. You don't want to get this too tight, but you don't want it loose. Just like so, and it rides right down inside that, on the inside of that bearing. Snug it down. That. See how I got grease all over my hands. And a little bit more. That feels good. And now we'll take, let's see, you have a flat washer that goes on there. This thing is kind of tight. Actually, I was putting it together wrong anyway. This nut goes on here first. This is basically the lock nut for your, I guess, the top bearing plate. That's what we'll call it. Then you put the flat washer on there. And this nut's going to go on the very top. So it fits against this. That goes on there. Tap it down just a hair. There we go. Alright. And we'll put the top plate on. I'm just going to put this nut on here lightly until I get my fork tubes slid up in it. Just kind of hold it in place. Just like so. Alright, we'll take a fork tube. I'm smear just a little bit of oil on it, maybe help slide up in here since I painted all this. Take your bolt and washer out the top. Just like so. And that's why you leave this loose so we can start the bolt. And I'm going to leave all this stuff loose. I'm just going to snug it up by hand until I get everything tight. And then I'll come back and tighten up the clamps. you go tightening everything up, then you'll have stuff not wanting to slide and getting in a bind. On this side. Just like so. Put your washer and bolt. That. This is a 15 millimeter. I'll come back and double check all this and get it all tight after I get everything mocked up. Right there looks good. Now, let me go, let's see, to have the bolts, top clamps, a little dab of oil on them. And these are also a 15 millimeter. So once you got the top two set there, I'm gonna get these started and I'll tighten the nut up. And that'll push this top plate down while this is all still loose, or these two bottom clamps are still loose. Start that. And I'll come up here to top, tighten this nut up without scratching anything. Get on there. There we go. All right. Everything still jives good. Now we'll come back and tighten these clamp bolts up. All right, now we're gonna put different fenders. We're not putting the same fenders back on it. So let me go grab the fenders I got, and we're gonna get those probably up here and mocked up first. Might go ahead and put the wheel on it. That way we can see where we want everything. But let me grab the fenders that we're gonna be using, and we'll see how they look. Now, these are the fenders we're gonna be using. Got these from Go Power Sports. They're for one of the Mega Moto bikes, I do believe that they carry. Not exactly sure, but I'll leave you a link down below. That way you can pick you up some. They factory just bolt in from the side, but I think these look a lot better than the half eggshell ones that these come with. Give it a little bit more character. Plus they kind of wrap down more, so if you're off-road and in the mud a lot, you don't have all the, I'm going to try and roll this down where you don't have all the mud slinging all over the front and the back of the engine making a mess. So all I did was I left the factory bracket that they have on here. This is kind of rounded. So basically all I did was just take two hammers, one for a backup, and basically just flatten these out so they're not rounded. And it's going to be able to just bolt right up in place. Pretty easy. So I'm going to mark these. I'll drill a couple of holes in the fender. I already got some hardware lined out. So let me go ahead and get the tire and bolt, get the tire put on it. We'll see how it looks, where we want to get it positioned. Then I'll come and mark it and pop some holes in it. So let me go get the tire on it and get a marker. All right, I went and got the axle bolt in, and actually we're going to put the nut on it and tighten it up. But I got the bolt in. I went ahead and took the fender, got it where I wanted it. Drilled my 3 holes for that. But we're going to take a 19 and a 17 and go ahead and get the axle bolt done. That way I don't forget about it. All right. Now on the hardware, I had some other stuff laying around. So I got a big flat washer, polylock nut, and I'm using just a 1/4 These are like 3/4 inch long. So that's what we're going to use to secure the fender. Let's see, let me set all this stuff down. I needed one washer. I'm kind of putting a big flat washer on the back side of it. So we just drop those there, put a flat washer, and then the polylock nut. Let me put it on the right way. There's one. Flat washer. I'm doing it on the floors, that way I ain't got to lift this big heavy bike off the table by myself. Because this is a heavy bike. If you're wondering, how come you ain't building it on the table? Because then I'll have to lift it. But I could use ramps to get it off, but it was already in the floor, so I figured let's just leave it in the floor. All right, we'll tighten these down. I'm gonna do the same method on the back. I'll get the tire and everything on it, and then I can position the fender to what looks good. I rolled this one down kind of far in the back. That way it's less dirt and mud and stuff slinging all up on the motor. I think it looks pretty good. I think these actually fit the bike a lot better than the ones that come on it. The ones that come on it don't look too bad, but I definitely like these a lot better. So if you want to do an upgrade to your bike, make it look a little different, and be more, oh, how can you say it? Off-road better to keep your engine from getting all muddy and getting your feet all muddy. These are a very inexpensive upgrade. And plus, I think it makes the bike look extremely cool looking. All right, let me grab the headlight since we already got this on the floor. All right, I took the factory headlight. This is all the factory stuff. The little strips coming off. But powder coated the bezel silver to match the pieces on the motor, and powder coated the housing black. So I think it looks pretty good. Let's see if we can get this in here without dropping it. Because this one actually has it's got like a glass lens in it. I thought they were just plastic, but this one had a glass lens in it. So, see if I can get the rubber grommet. You got a little rubber grommet that goes in between the housing and the bracket, or the light in the bracket. All right. Sit right there while I see if I can start the other one. Slide the little rubber grommet in here. You can see all this, what's going on. Ease this right here. A little rubber grommet goes in between the headlight and the bracket, and just feed the bolt through it. I'll just snug these up. Once I got the bike all put together and running, then I can sit here and I can adjust it so we can see what's going on. But we'll just snug them up a little bit for now so they don't, it ain't flopping around everywhere. All right, we're making progress. All right, we'll leave that snug for now. All right, let me go grab some other stuff, and we'll get the back end on it and go from there. All right, I think I got everything lined out here for the rear wheel assembly. You got one big spacer that goes on your sprocket side, and then you have two other spacers. One's going to be a small one, a short one, and then one that's just a little bit longer. One's about a 1/2 inch, one's about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch. I didn't measure them. But anyway, the bigger one's going to go against the bearing, and your smaller one is going to go in between your brake disc plate and your outer frame support. So you want the big one on the inside, small one on the outside. And you have a chain adjuster, which these can be fun to try and get back in there. But on the chain adjuster, if you look at the side right here, your axle bolt goes through this hole, correct? This one's real thin, this one's thick. This right here, I looked at several of them. This needs to be on the outside, so when you go to tighten your nut up, this thicker part, which has actually got like a washer made onto it, is going to be on the outside. So see if y'all can zoom in on that. So you see how the one's got the washer on the outside? That's going to be where your nut goes, is on that side there. So that needs to be facing out on both sides of your bike. So this is going to be the fun part of getting everything in there. But as long as the bike don't fall off, we'll be good. I'll take the fat side, stick it out. Then I'm going to take the wheel spacer, get my axle started in here a little bit, and the tire over and get the spacer up in there. I'll bring it up, start it into the wheel. coming out yet? Oh, not yet. All right. Now I'm going to take big spacer, slide it in there, just like so. Then I'm going to take the small spacer, stick it in between your brake disc bracket and the frame. Then, like I said, you want to make sure the big side with the washers on it's facing out. So I'll just snake this right in here. Look at that. Almost like butter. Give it a little tap since we got it lined up. Get my adjusters right here up. All right. We're just going to leave this, I'm going to run it down just a little bit. Don't need to tighten it yet because I still have to, that's the wrong wrench, 19. And I'm backwards here. Because I'll get all this final tight once we get the motor in place and the chain. Because I got to cut a chain. We're going to put some Go Power Sports DID chain on it, I do believe. So we'll just leave that snug. Got the adjusters hanging here. We'll screw those down. We'll pull all this stuff off later. All right, let's. I'm gonna go get the kickstand. I powder coated the kickstand, so I'll get that done. Get the spring on. That way, it'll be a roller, and we can start putting foot pegs and stuff on. All right, I went ahead and got the foot pegs on because I realized that I did not powder coat the kickstand. So I'm just gonna have my kickstand spring right there. But while that was done, I went ahead and put the foot pegs back in, just a quarter pin and the washer on the back, and those are good to go. So while we're down here, we'll go ahead and put the jack shaft assembly in and get that snug down. I got a new quarter pin because your assembly here, you'll have this big castle nut and a flat washer, and there's a quarter pin that goes in there. So when it tracked me down, when I put a new quarter pin in it. Wipe this off, make sure she's clean. Already checked the sprocket, so we're good. So we'll get this assembly in here, just like so, all the way till it bottoms out against your bearing. I put some grease in those bearings. They feel snug. All right, I'm gonna wipe the washer off. You put your washer on there. Well, I got grease everywhere. And we'll put the castle nut on it. And I really don't suggest putting an impact on this when you're tightening this nut down, because you don't want to over tighten it and then put more pressure on your bearing. So I'm just going to hold the backup wrench on the back side, and we'll snug this down. Right there. Give it a good spin. We'll make sure we're seated with the sprocket, your sprocket right here seated against the bearing. Everything spins good. There's no in play in it. And let's see, we'll go just a hair more to line up the hole for the cotter pin. I don't think that'll be too much. Where'd the hole go? Let's back it off just a hair. Right there. Still feel good? Oh yeah. All right. Insert the cotter pin. It'll be pretty good back here on this back end. I'll just fold this around. Where's my needle nose? You can do both of them. Actually, I'm gonna do one down and one up. Be fine. I might trim that off a little bit. I'll cut that off and fold that down. All right. That feels pretty good. Put the kickstand spring there. All right, while we're back here, go ahead and grab my 10mm, and we're gonna go ahead and throw the brake disc on it. If I can remember how it was routed, I left my bolts in here. Take the two 10mm out, throw them in the floor, and I think this was routed right through here. I do believe. We can reroute it if we have to. Make sure both my pads are open here. Where'd my screwdriver go? Let's get the pads open a little bit. Press them back in. There we go. Let me just ease this right back down here. If I can see what I'm doing. A little bit more. Guess I must have pushed the lever. All right. Now let's try it again. There we go. Guess I must have squeezed the lever. All right, so we can get one started at the top. All right, got the 10 millimeter back bolt. Where is it at? Right there. Get both of them good and started first. And we can tighten them up. Make sure those are good and snug. All right, let me from the front end parts, we'll start putting the risers on, the bars, and get the front end buttoned up. All right, let's get the risers on, but check this out. Woo! It's still a little warm. Powder coated that rascal. Let's let it hang right here for a little bit and cool down. Woo! Should have just left it in the oven, but anyway. All right, let's grab the bars. We got the risers sitting here. We'll get these mocked up and kind of set up somewhat loose. Oh boy. All right, got the bolt in. That goes in the top. And we got a 14 millimeter on the bottom or backside. Powder coated these as well. I got powder coat happy. And you got 14 on the back. Let me snug them up just a little bit. I think it's a 14. Yeah, 14. All right, I'm gonna leave them just a little loose. That way, whenever I go to put the bars on, you can still move them around and to line up all your bolts. So we'll just snug them up. That's a little good. That way we can move them around. All right, grab some bolts. And let's see. 10 millimeter for the riser bolts. Put this in my pocket. All right, here. Set these right here. Start the bolts. One more in the back one. And get my other clamp on. Bolt started. Ooh, didn't drop nothing yet. I'll just get these snugged up, that way I can get everything bolted as far as the throttle cable, kill switch, we'll get all that stuff on. And then get the bike on the ground, then I can adjust them for comfortability. But we're just gonna leave them right here, right now, and just put a little snug on them. Then once I get everything tight, then I'll come back and get all the bolts, the 14s underneath, and I'll snug these back up. We're just gonna leave them a little loose right now. That way they're not flopping around. All right, let me go grab some more stuff, and we'll continue on. All right, go ahead and grab the throttle and my kill switch. I did go ahead and pull the cap off, pull the bolts out, which I left one sitting on the table. Pulled the two screws out of the top. I'm gonna sit that right there. But I did go ahead and lube the cable. Make sure I use cable lube. Run it all the way down so it's dripping out the bottom. Lube the assembly right here real good. And then we're gonna hook it back in here. Roll it around. Now, we'll slide it on, and on the top clamp, there's a little pin. I don't know if we can zoom in right here. There's a little metal rod on the factory MB200. This is the factory MB200 throttle assembly, and there's a little pin right there. Sometimes you can take these out if you want to use them on our other bikes where you don't have to drill a hole in it, but there is a marker hole right in the top there. So when you're putting this back on, get your throttle somewhat set to bottom out, then you'll put this, get your bolt started, slide the top piece right over the top where it drops in the hole, just like so. That pin's in there so it keeps your throttle assembly from rocking back and forth, I guess you'd say. It's kind of a holder pin. And I just tighten up both these screws evenly. They get tight. And that should be about it. All right, let me grab the end of the cable, see how she works. Oh yeah. All right, we'll just throw that down there. So we're going to hook that up to the motor in a minute. Let's go ahead and get a smaller Phillips screwdriver for the 2 screws on the back of the kill switch. And I don't remember if this is on the left side or right side. I'm going to stick it on the right side because that's where I put them on all my bikes. I don't remember, but that's where we're going to put it today. So, and I just dropped that screw on the ground. That's okay, we'll get it. And the wires go right through the bottom back side of the clamp. We'll get this one started a little bit. Then we'll go hunt and find this screw I dropped, which is right here. Put this one in here. Get that tight down. Let's see, where does that look? Let's roll that up right there a little bit. That looks pretty good. We'll get it on the bike, and then we can make the final adjustments when we get the bars and everything where we want them. We'll just snug it up pretty good for now. And we can hook all the wires up. I'll get all the wires and everything hooked up once I get the motor on and run the brake cable and all that stuff. Then we'll get all the lights, everything hooked up to the motor. So we'll just leave that sitting right there. Let's see. Got the back fender, which the front and back fenders, they're both identical. So you can also rotate them around. So I'm gonna see what looks good on the back. Got the hardware for it, and get the holes drilled. We're gonna get this mounted up. All right, I figure, okay, I'm gonna show you this handy tool that I got. I got this thing off of Amazon or eBay or whatever. Let me see if I can get it around where you can kind of see the name of it. Anyway, it's like a pop rivet gun, but what it does is it puts inserts, threaded inserts in, and you can do, the kit comes with a variety of whatever. If you want some standard metric, bigger ones, fine ones. Let's see if I can show you these. These are the inserts. I just put them in this Plano tackle box thing. But you pick out, you have to figure out what your drill bit size is, drill your hole, which I already got the one in the frame drilled. And then I'm gonna go with a 1/4-20. But this is a very cool deal. So no, they're not sponsoring me, but anybody that works on mini bikes or go-karts, pretty much anything, if you got a Jeep and you want to do some type of floor pan that you want to be able to take in and out to access your transmission, this thing is pretty freaking handy. So let me grab my insert, which is a 1/4-20, and you find your 1/4-20 insert piece, which I already have it in here, and this threads in just like so. So I'm going to go over here and attempt to show you how to do it on the bike. All right, let's see if we can get this right here, because I want to be able to take my tank on and off. So basically what you do is you have the jaws open, you thread your insert all the way down till it bottoms out. You stick it down in the hole like so. Make sure you got it square. See that? Well, this is supposed to, and you just pull the handle and it threads right out. So now you have a nice, cool, factory-looking insert that you can take your tank on and off if you'd like. So that stays in there. But if you wanted to mount something somewhere and you don't have a welder whatnot. You could have welded a nut or a bolt back here and welded the nut to it and then put the nut on it to mount your tank. But I had this and I figured, hey, I'm gonna use it because it comes in quite handy and it looks really nice and professional. So, like I said, I'm not sponsored by these people, but it is quite handy. Buddy of mine's got one and he uses it all the time on stuff. I actually have one at work and it works quite handy. So, there we go. So now I got my mounts mounted at the front. So we put the tank on very last, got the insert in. I'm gonna try and get the motor dropped in it tonight and see what else we can get done. But I would just thought I'd show you all that handy insert installation. It's pretty cool. All right, got a little bit of daylight left. Actually, it's pitch dark outside. But we're gonna go ahead and throw the motor in it, get the motor set in place, get it bolted down, and might do a few other things, but we're getting pretty close to calling it a day. There's my, I can put that back on here in a minute. I need to put the kickstand on it since it's probably cooled off by now. But got the bolts here, lock washers and nuts, get the motor set on it. Maybe do a few other things. Maybe I'll get the, I got the brake lever on. Maybe I'll get the cable ran and routed since I have the motor on it. All right, let's see if we can get this pig on there. We have to give it a good wipe down once you got it on there. But, there we go. And if I remember correctly, these bolts go in from the bottom, I think. And the nut, the washer go on top. I do believe. I think so. Get this wire out of the way, see if I can snake a nut down here, or a washer. Kind of tight in there. I'll just throw that one down there for now. Get it right through here. Alright, got that one started. Get a couple more threads on it so it don't fall on the floor. Alright. It's good, so we can get a back one in it. There's a hole in there somewhere. There it is. Alright, get my washer in here. And I still gotta mock up and make a header for it. Had one on it, but we're gonna change it up a little bit. See if we can get it more out the side. Because the Go Power Sports bike or header that they have for this, you have to cut the side plate, and I already did some stuff with the side plate, so I had to kind of go back and rethink some things. I kind of jumped ahead of myself, but it'll be all right. We'll make a header for it, and we're definitely going to put that header on another bike, which is more than likely going to go on my Gambler bike, so I can have it ready for, I need to get that bike ready for the Go Power Sports 180 that's coming up very, very soon. So I got to get on the ball and get my Gambler bike gone through. Shouldn't need much, but race like that I want to go through every, check every nut and bolt and all that good stuff. All right, folks. I think that's about it. Should take me a refreshment break, and I'll probably get the side plate on here and figure out what I'm going to do for a header and get that done, so when we come back we can get that bolted into place. Still got to run a breather line, some fuel line, but we'll put the tank on very last because that's kind of a special piece and I definitely don't want to scratch it. So let's call that a day.